Middle of the road. Your hands won't stop shaking. Your voice breaks as you call the police. Please, someone just kidnapped my 6-year-old son. Please help me. Within minutes, police cars flood your neighborhood. Your wife rushes home. The second she hears the news, her entire world collapses. You're a doctor. Your wife works in real estate. Just a few minutes ago, you were a normal, happy family. Now, everything is gone. Detective Hermit studies your statement, and his face suddenly changes. Your son wasn't taken for ransom. He was kidnapped, right in front of you. Only a psychopath would do something like this. And if the detective is right, every passing second brings your little boy closer to death. The police search every street. Missing posters cover the entire city. You and your wife appear on television, begging, praying, hoping someone has seen your son. But while the whole city is searching, then we see a man named John has your son locked inside a filthy basement. Dead animals, blood-covered tools, taxidermy displays, and cages filled with terrified creatures, as if none of it matters. John calmly puts on makeup while talking to himself. 1 second, he's a strict father. The next, he's pretending to be his own little daughter. It's obvious he's completely lost his mind. Your son cries. He begs to go home. He calls for his parents. But John doesn't care. In rage without second thought, he did something horrible. Soon, the crying stops. Your little boy is gone. For him, it's just normal day. But for you, the real nightmare has only just begun. Days later, neighbors report hearing a child crying inside John's house. Police rush to the scene. He acts normal, but police suspicious peek inside. They find blood, children's clothes. They barge in, took him in gunpoint, and explore his house. Rusty torture tools, and a basement that feels like pure evil. Officer went down. Then, officer freezes. He finds your son's body. Horrible, his bones broken face distort. One heartbreaking phone call changes your life forever. At the morgue, you and your wife pray. Please, don't let it be our son. But deep down, you already know the truth. The sheet is pulled back. Your world shatters. You remember everything. The day he was born, his first smile, his first steps, the first time he called you mom, dad, and the last time he waved goodbye before his mother left for work. She thought she'd see him again that evening. She never imagined that goodbye would be forever. After the funeral, nothing feels real anymore. You stop going to work. Your wife barely leaves the bed. Every room in the house feels haunted. His bedroom, his favorite toys, his tiny clothes. Every memory cuts deeper than the last. You try to stay strong, but your wife can't stop blaming you. She trusted you to protect your son, but you looked away, just for a few seconds. You went inside to grab some sunscreen. It should have taken only a moment, but the drawer was packed with your wife's cosmetics. You wasted precious seconds searching for it, and in those few seconds, the kidnapper made his move. By the time you heard your son scream, he was already being dragged into a pickup truck. You ran with everything you had. You screamed his name. You chased the truck on foot. But no matter how hard you ran, you could never outrun a speeding vehicle. Refusing to give up, you rushed back home. You jumped into your car, slammed the accelerator to the floor, and chased the kidnapper through the streets. You searched every road, every intersection, hoping to catch even a glimpse of that truck. But it had already vanished. With no other choice, you stopped in the middle of the road, borrowed a stranger's phone, and called the police. You did everything you could. But grief doesn't care about the truth. Your wife keeps asking the same painful question. Why didn't you smash the truck's window? How could you? The truck was already hundreds of feet away. No explanation could ease her pain. No answer could bring your son back. Eventually, the blame turns into an argument. You finally break. You remind her that if the sunscreen hadn't been buried under a drawer full of cosmetics, you would have been back outside in seconds. Maybe, just maybe, things would have ended differently. Silence fills the room. That guilt begins tearing your family apart. The only thing keeping both of you alive is one hope: justice. Finally, John's trial begins. As more evidence comes to light, the courtroom falls silent. Police uncover the remains of several children buried behind John's house. Some bodies are fresh, some have already decomposed, others are nothing but skeletons. No one even knows how many innocent children he has murdered. You sit there, certain he'll never see freedom again. But then, everything changes. John accepts a plea deal. In exchange for revealing the identities and burial sites of his other victims, his sentence is reduced. Only 25 years. 25 years for stealing countless innocent lives. The judge calls it justice. To you, it feels like betrayal. Your son's killer will one day walk free, while your son will never come home. Your wife can't accept it. Every single day she waited for justice, only to watch the system fail your family. She looks at you, her eyes filled with anger. Get me a gun. I'll kill him myself. You refuse. You tell her, if we become killers too, then what makes us any different from him? But those words only push her further away. She leaves. Now you've lost your son, and you're losing your wife too. Alone in the empty house, the silence becomes unbearable. For a moment, you even wonder if life is worth living anymore. Then you see your son's room, his toys, his tiny clothes, his smile in an old photograph, and suddenly something inside you changes. Simply killing John isn't enough anymore. He shouldn't die quickly. He should suffer. The same way your son suffered that night. You go to your wife. You look her in the eyes and say, we're not going to kill him. We're going to make him feel every second of our pain. And from that moment, grieving parents disappear. Something far darker takes their place. Days later, you finally make your decision. If the law won't punish your son's killer, you will. But first, you need him alive. Very alive. Since you're a doctor, getting the right drugs isn't difficult. Late at night, you sneak into the hospital. Every second feels dangerous. You quietly fill a medical bag with powerful drugs, painkillers, sedatives, everything you'll need to keep a man alive, no matter how much he suffers. Just as you're about to leave, another doctor stops you. For one terrifying moment, you think you've been caught, but he has no idea what you've done. He simply tells you you should be resting at home. You nod, hide your fear, and walk away. The first step of your plan is complete. Now, there's only one problem. John is locked inside a prison transport van, so you and your wife follow it from a distance, waiting for the perfect opportunity. Finally, the transport stops at a gas station. One officer walks inside for coffee. The other stays with the van. This is your chance. You walk into the store, pretending to argue with another customer. Everyone turns to look at you. Meanwhile, your wife quietly slips sleeping pills into the officer's coffee. No one notices. No one suspects a thing. Minutes later, the van continues down the highway. Then suddenly, the drugs kick in. The officers begin feeling dizzy. They pull over, one by one. They stumble out of the van. This is it. You sprint toward the driver's seat. Your heart is pounding. You turn the key. Nothing. Again, nothing. The officers are already turning back. One more second, and everything is over. Then the engine finally roars to life. You slam the accelerator. As you race down the highway, a deer suddenly jumps onto the road. You jerk the steering wheel. The prison van loses control. It flips, rolls down an embankment, and crashes into the woods. Everything goes silent. You slowly open your eyes. You're injured, but alive. Then you remember, John. You stumble through the wreckage and find him lying on the ground. His body is badly broken. He's barely breathing. The man you've wished dead for months is finally dying. You could simply walk away. Let nature finish the job. No one would ever know. But that's not enough. Death is too easy. You want him to suffer. The way your son suffered. As a doctor, you know exactly how to keep him alive. You stabilize his injuries, stop the bleeding, and make sure he doesn't die. Ironically, the man who wants revenge becomes the one saving his enemy's life. Together, you and your wife drag his unconscious body into your vehicle. No hospitals, no police, no witnesses, just one destination. An abandoned house your wife was trying to sell, far away from everyone. Hidden beneath that house is a dark, empty basement, the perfect prison. You chain him tightly to a metal table. His arms, his legs, every escape route is gone. Then, you force a tube down his throat, not to torture him, but to keep him alive. Because if he dies too soon, your revenge dies with him. As you stare into his helpless eyes, you make one promise. You won't die today. First, you'll feel every ounce of pain my son felt. John finally wakes up. His eyes dart around the dark basement. Chains rattle. Panic sets in. Then he sees you standing there, holding a cigarette. You take a drag and press the burning tip against his stomach. The skin sizzles instantly. John jerks against the chains, screaming in agony. You keep the cigarette there for a second longer, until the flesh burns deep enough to leave a crater. Your wife watches from the corner, horrified by what you're becoming. But you can't stop. Every scream reminds you of the screams your son must have made. Then, you leave the key hanging just out of his reach, not to help him escape, but to give him hope, because hope makes the suffering longer. Upstairs, you and your wife plan to have another child, while the man chained below listens to every sound. But the next morning, the real torture begins. This was part 1. Part 2 coming soon, when we get 2 likes.